Howdy. Come on now, we trained you better than that. Howdy. There we go. All right. So I stand between you and dinner. So we'll get this over with pretty quickly, I think. So first of all, thank you so much, every one of you, for coming. We started off this event talking about partnerships with academia, with stakeholders, with government, and with vendors. And I think you've seen that in action. I've heard several people tell me today that they just weren't expecting the level of integrated talks that they were hearing today. So thank you all for that very much. We've had it so far. What do you all think of the event so far? Yeah. Okay. The lady standing in black, in the black dress right there with the blonde hair, stand up and wave your hand, AJ. AJ is 100% responsible for this. Okay. She's done an amazing job, her and her team. So another round of applause for AJ. Thank you. Okay, we had some IT issues today, but we powered through them. As we say in emergency management, Semper Gumby, right? Anybody too young to understand who Gumby was? Maybe some guys back there. Yeah, so we adapt, we overcome. It worked out great. So I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the things we've been talking about so far and we'll be talking about tomorrow. We've talked about mission critical push to talk, why it's important, how it works, some of the progress that's been made, some of the progress that still needs to be made. What we're going to experience on Thursday. First of all, how many people are coming to the exercise on Thursday? Show of hands. Fantastic. Okay. So what we're going to see on Thursday is we're going to have P25 radios and AT&T mobile phones, smartphones, and T-Mobile smartphones, and Verizon smartphones, and some, I forget the brand name, but sorry, some phones that are actually, they look like radios, but they act like LTE devices. So all of those are going to be sharing some statewide interop channels, tiers 1 through 3. And that was arranged by our SWIC, our Statewide Interoperability Coordinator. Where is Carla? There she is. Thank you, Carla, for arranging that. So everybody's going to get a chance to play with those and interoperability of those. We are in the ITEC doing a lot of work in MCPTT and mission critical services in general. In fact, right now we're working on a project with DHS to measure voice quality for mission critical versus P25 and also gateway voice quality. So stay tuned for some results from that. Next Gen 911 is something we're also featuring in the exercise. So we are going to be connecting a caller on the AT&T public production network. We actually have T-Mobile production network. We have phones that when you dial 911 on the T-Mobile production network, you're actually routed into our lab 911 systems. And that will go into the PSAP, which is going to be out at Disaster City on Thursday. And the caller will be able to initiate a video call. And the PSAP operator, when they answer, 911, what's your emergency? They will actually see the video. And then that video is going to be useful to the first responders who are on their way to deal with the incident. So they're going to be able to bridge them in as a three-way bridge. And first responder will be able to see the incident as he's approaching. In this case, it'll be a firefighter coming in a fire truck. So that's, I'm told, that's the first time ever for a native i3 native 3GPP call. So that's pretty amazing, I think. So a lot of work going on in the Next Generation Interoperability Task Force. Again, Budge Courier is the chair of the steering committee on that and talked to us about that earlier today. Budge's shirt tonight. Where's Budge? Your shirt is not as, yeah, he's incognito tonight. So those of you that saw his shirt earlier, he actually definitely added to the color spectrum on the stage. Okay, team awareness kit, very huge for Texas, DPS and a variety of agencies, Border Patrol, FBI, DEA, a whole bunch of agencies using team awareness kit. So we are going to be equipping everybody at the exercise with TAC. Those of you that will get some of the AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon phones will have that already preloaded. If you are kind of a spectator and just want to attend and see what it's all about, you can use your personal phone and download the app, and we'll get you logged in with a QR code into the DPS system. The DPS system is then federated with our system at Texas A&M and with some others. So everybody will be able to see drones and all the people moving around in Disaster City and have a full view of that. We are also doing identity credentialing and access management. We're going to have stations to check your credentials when you go into the Emergency Operations Center, when you go into the Incident Command Post, when you show up at the different parts of the exercise. So obviously we're not going to disallow somebody, but we'll get a feel for how many people have the proper credentials to be there. That'll be pretty fun. Information sharing framework, we heard quite a bit about that. A lot of work to do there, but a lot of the stuff you're going to see is integration of these systems. So we talked about integrating TAC with digital twin with the Vantic system. And so regardless of which user interface, which presentation layer you're looking at, they're all drawing from the same data, the same sensors from Disaster City. And then we're doing the integration between the systems so that whichever user interface you're used to, you get to see that information. And then primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency or PACE planning. We're going to have a variety of different options for PACE planning. So I will spill a little bit of the beans here. I think some of you know this. For the exercise on Thursday, the scenario is we have a terrorist attack, and it happens at a major sporting event with U.S. officials present. So that's it triggers something called an NSSE, a National Security Special Event. And what that means is a lot of federal agencies, including DoD, would be forward deployed and already on site to deal with that problem. The attack causes a train wreck on a train that's big, long freight trains that we have here near the stadium. And that causes a hazmat spill because there's many tankers on these cars or on these trains. And so it stops the train. It's blocking multiple intersections, so making travel very difficult. There's a hazmat spill. There's toxic gas escaping, and so there's a plume of gas heading towards the stadium. And then there's a bomb that explodes in the stadium. And by the way, the NSA probably has me watched because I don't know how many times I've said terrorist and bomb on the phone with people over the last month. So I'm sure they're watching me very closely. But there's a bomb that explodes in the Kyle Field, bringing partial collapse of Kyle Field and destroying the distributed antenna system. So now 100,000 plus people in the stadium have no communications, and the hundreds of thousands of people around the stadium also have no communications. And it's a very bad day for everybody. So that's the start of the exercise. And then we go from there. So later on, we discover it's a radiological bomb. And so we're going to have tracking of radiological sources and all kinds of really neat stuff going on Thursday. Part of that is because we're losing our primary communication, we're going to alternate and contingency, and then ultimately some emergency methods. So you're going to see a few vendors that offer those types of solutions. So we're just really excited about what's going to happen Thursday. Maybe you can tell. So we're hoping that you will also find it exciting. So we're really happy you're here. We think the work that we do here at the ITEC is important for national security, for Department of Defense, for Homeland Security. And we really just so much enjoy working with all of you to make that happen. And I just want to say thank you so much. And I guess we'll do dinner. Is that right? Yep. Okay. Thank you.
And she stayed with us through her master's program. The bad news is she graduates soon, going up to Washington, D.C. So her goal, by the way, she's graduating from the Bush School in government and basically in government service. She plans on doing government service as a career. So we are hoping that there are some federal agencies out here that are looking for a fantastic person. So, well, that's okay. I tell you, somebody asked me a couple of years ago about this young lady from DHS, and I said, you know, you guys are all going to be working for her one day. So speaks to the talent we've got here. So Gracia. I do want to make everyone aware of something that happens in this building here too, as well, since everybody's here. When you go down, when you leave, if you kind of go around that side of the building, the Memorial Student Center is a tribute to A&M students that have lost their life in the line of duty. There are plaques downstairs that tell the story and honor the seven military people that have lost their life, but were awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. And when you read the stories, they're pretty heart-rendering. So if you get a chance, like I said, downstairs, it's a must-see. I want to introduce tonight's keynote. So we were honored to be able to get Mr. Joe Wassel to come up and do the keynote speech for us. So Joe started off his career in the Air Force. I just learned today that he did his first flight work over at Bergstrom Air Force Base in that other city with that other university, 90 miles west of here. So anyway, Joe had an illustrious career within the Air Force as an Air Force officer. From there, he's done a lot of work in high level command. Worked at the Pentagon for a number of years. Worked at DISA, kind of the agency that really connects all the bases with each other, and is a central clearinghouse for communication system. So Joe was a visionary. Was an inspired man supporting public safety all along. If any of you are working in the NG 911 space, you understand what an issue it is connecting right now the military bases to the surrounding communities. Because incidents that happen on base impact off base, and incidents that happen off base impact on base. So seamless communications is critical, but it's very difficult when you're dealing with a DoD network that's by nature very closed and very secure. So Joe was tackling that when we first started working with him. I'd say probably about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, yep. So, and then retired from DISA, and then we learned that he was going to go off and take this other job, where he started as the CEO and director of the FirstNet Authority. Honestly, when I found out he got that job, I was absolutely ecstatic, because he has the kind of insight and vision and ability to really lead things that any federal agency would be honored to have. He impressed me even more when he started the job, because his first, got in a plane, got in trains, got in cars, and started going absolutely everywhere all over the country, talking to people, talking to first responders, talking to state government, and basically said, I'm not going to say anything or do anything until I have an understanding of what's going on in this space, what's going on in this industry. So with that, after that kind of burn-in period there for him, he went off and has been working on the what he's calling FirstNet 3.0. So without any further ado, let me introduce Mr. Joe Wassel.
All right. Good evening. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much. It is a special place, and Walt's been kind of showing us around. I think it is a special place. I think Walt is a special person. When we did meet 10 years ago, we've been trying to work together closely and more closely as we go through, and interoperability, of course, is absolutely critical. And so, Walt, thank you for your service and what you've done, and thanks for letting me be here today. So thank you, Walt. I used to say that the world is watching what we're doing, but I also want to say to some of our international partners from Sweden, France, and other locations, the world isn't just watching, the world's working with us. And so that is terrific. I think for the 100 million first responders worldwide, one no more important than the other. Fire is fire, law enforcement is law enforcement, water rescues and these sorts of things are the same, regardless of your language, your culture, your geography. So it's really great to see some old friends and make some new ones as well. And they have been traveling quite a bit. Also like to just say to my friends, I had to say, well, what's going on over in the corner? You guys look fantastic. You look brilliant. Thank you for your service. I look over the cloth of the nation takes on lots of forms. You guys look amazing. And we thank you for your courage, your future courage. And I must admit, although it's been a long time, I remember sitting there as a cadet, sitting there looking back up at the person sitting here going, this better be good, you know? Let's see if we can get inspired a little bit. My son is in the Idaho National Guard and a cadet at Boise State University. And he said he went to a military function a week ago. And I said, any advice? He goes, yeah, try and be inspiring. I said, okay, I'll do my best. So I'll be thinking about my son. And again, thank you. I saw some other cloth of the nation as well, some of the international. Frederick had his uniform on today and others. So it really, it's something to put on the uniform and wear a badge and take an oath. It means something. And so when I got this job after 34 years in the Department of Defense as an active duty Air Force officer, as a reservist, and as a DoD civilian, to come over and after my retirement, this is the most unretired job you could ever have in your life. But it is a dream give back job, without a doubt. And the network that I'm trying to lead in this public-private partnership with our great partners from AT&T, when I took the job over last March, not only did I travel a lot, Walt, I took my entire leadership team of senior executives to the one place in the United States that really inspires me the most. The FirstNet Authority and the FirstNet capability is a ripple effect of 9/11. It is a ripple effect of the 9/11 Commission report, of the law passed in 2012, of the contract written in 2017, of the build out that just completed last March. And so when I took all of this work, and although I was a cheerleader over in DoD for public safety in the 150,000 fire, police, and EMS and 911 inside DoD installations worldwide, I needed to figure out how to get my team inspired. And if you haven't been to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, I would highly recommend it, because the 40 people that got on that airplane on September 11th didn't know each other. They were strangers. And 29 minutes later, they figured out what was going on. They developed a plan. They talked about the plan. They voted on the plan and they executed the plan. And we're almost, you could look at it and go, they weren't successful, but they actually won the first battle in the global war on terror. And so I took my entire team up to Shanksville and built this house, the House of FirstNet. And to your point, Walt, the flag up top says, listen, learn, and lead. And I think listening is the most important thing we can do with public safety, right? What are you dealing with? And at my path around the country and around the world, firefighters are worried about batteries. Police, law enforcement are worried about mass casualty events. 911 operators are worried about keeping people in the seat and what video and next gen could do to their workforce and the well-being of their workforce. EMS is worried about things that people are putting into their bodies that are not responding to the chemical reactions that we've got, the Narcan, you know, the fentanyl situations. And emergency management is worried about everything. And they're worried about something really bad happening, a complex, catastrophic event, potentially underpinned by a cyber attack. There's lots to worry about. So First slide, House of FirstNet. We live this every single day. We got a 25-year, $40 billion contract. We lead that contract and oversee it. We're dedicated to public safety. And how do we do it? We engage. I come out here, I get invited to College Station, Texas, and I say a few words to you tonight. Try and leave something behind. And we're hiring at FirstNet, by the way. So if you're coming to the DC area, put your application in. Glad to have you on board. And then we innovate because we have what we have, right? But we can do more. And I'm going to hit this little green button and see what happens. Now look at that. This is incredible. This was drawn in 2014, well before I was part of the FirstNet Authority, but as I was learning about what dedicated spectrum could do for public safety. So what I love about this inspired design is that it's built on the foundation that the 5 disciplines are the most important thing about what we do, and we're driven by public safety every single day. The next piece is the amazing country that we get to live in, and we get to protect, and we get to make better, and we get to partner around the nation. So every single territory, and just 2 weeks ago, I was in Guam and I was in Saipan, which is part of the Consolidated Northern Marianas Islands with Tinia and Rhoda. I'll be going to American Samoa in the fall. And then next week, I will be in, well, I guess I'm going to be in Dubai next week. And then the week after that, I'm going to be in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, talking about the challenges that public safety has every day and what the FirstNet Authority can do through our public-private partnership with AT&T to solve their hard problems. So we're inspired by public safety. We're inspired by creativity. We're inspired by the stories, the hallowed ground. It is Firefighters Week. The week after that will be Police Week. We just had 911 Week. But we're also inspired by funding. And so back in February, I got to write a check for $8.2 billion for public safety, not spending it on anything else but network evolution, what nobody really wants to talk about, a consolidated 5G core. Nobody really wants to talk about it unless there's an outage. And they're like, how did that outage happen? Well, it does happen. Networks go down, and we need plans, and we need to make sure they don't go down. And when they do, we stand up a task force, we get an after-action report, and we're stronger after the outage. And that's the plan, and that's where we're going. So $6.2 billion for network evolution to 5G, and we're already talking about 6G. But let's talk about what you really want to talk about, and it's coverage, coverage, and coverage. We get it. $2.2 billion in coverage and another 1,000 towers on top of that from AT&T. So I'm going to talk about the power of a tower in a minute. I think I've got another slide. These are kind of confusing. So Einstein had a quote that said, if you can't explain it simply enough, you probably don't understand it well enough. So let me just give you a nice caveman picture, right? We all understand what this is. And what my job is every single day is to make sure that this network is up, it's ready, it's resilient, and that you've got confidence in the network. The cool stuff you guys are doing this week is what rides on top of the network. That's where the inspiration comes in. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if, fill in the blank. And if you've got a network to support it, then anything is possible. So my role in this, and I try not to get too distracted, is to make sure that network is up, it's ready, it's resilient against all hazards, So cybersecurity, right? That's the one that's out there. It's most talked about. It is least understood. And if you don't have a TSSCI clearance, probably not going to have a serious conversation about it. So one of the things I did when I joined the FirstNet Authority was to make sure that my mission unit leads, their deputies, and my entire federal team had a TSSCI clearance. We're building special capabilities to go inside and working with the intelligence community, because as great as this network is, it's now a target. It's a target for the bad guys, okay? So that's what we're getting after. And this is what we're doing, and the fun stuff's in the red, and that's what Interop is all about. And this, what the exercise you've got coming up that sounds fascinating, you're gonna need a strong network that when 100,000 or 200,000 people call out on commercial capabilities, what's gonna be left? Dedicated spectrum, for first responders. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Smith may not be able to make a phone call because it'll be overwhelmed. The cellular infrastructure will be overwhelmed. But the dedicated spectrum in FirstNet allows first responders to command and control, to use a DoD term, or to collaborate and coordinate to get on top of what that problem is. That's the key difference with FirstNet. Yes, we've got a world-class partner. Yes, the federal government can still lead. But that dedicated spectrum is what makes the real difference. That's the secret sauce. So the power of the tower. So I asked today, so it depends on where I am, right? So I was like, hey, the story I got from Massachusetts isn't going to sell very well here in Texas, but let me tell it anyway, and then I'll shift to Texas. And Camille, I'm going to have to ask you, I think it's Big Bear. Is it Ben? Big Ben. Okay, got it. Okay, so about 3 months ago, I was up and I was in turnover in public safety is remarkable, just like in the military. Every time you get another set of orders, you got remote, you got every time it's just churn, constant churn. Constantly doing FirstNet 101. What is it? What can it do? What's it about? So I was up in Massachusetts and I was talking to the brand new Homeland Security Advisor to the governor, and the statewide interoperability coordinator and I were just sitting there having a chat. Happened to be in there with Ed Davis. He was the commissioner, a police commissioner in Boston after the Boston bombing. And what a fine individual he is. And if you haven't seen the movie Patriots Day, talking about the bombing, his character was John Goodman, and he fought a lot with Kevin Bacon. And Mark Wahlberg is in there as a beat cop. And it's a great movie, and it's a great story about this. So we're up there, and we're talking to Massachusetts, and the SWIC said to the Homeland Security Advisor, hey, ma'am, yeah, you can't believe these guys. They actually put 16 towers in Western Massachusetts, and everybody in the room started laughing. And I kind of got it, but the bottom line is nobody in their right mind would put 16 towers in Western Massachusetts because there's nobody in Western Massachusetts. But it catches fire, and they're cooking fentanyl, and you get lost campers, and you're looking for folks, and public safety goes into Western Massachusetts. So the difference in this network is we're not making business decisions. We've got the funding, we've got the leadership, we've got the contract. We're making mission-driven decisions. For the first time in my career ever, budget isn't my biggest problem. It's where to put the towers, where does public safety need to be connected and informed. In the air, on the ground, subterranean. Look at the bridge collapse. Look at the catastrophic situation of the bridge collapse and the entire swarm of public safety that came to both sides of that port, right? They were underwater, they were in the air, they were on both sides of the bridge trying to, and FirstNet was there. The network was holding, but we put a cell on truck up there just to be sure, because we're doing 1,800 calls every single year. That's 5 calls a day for extra capacity for planned events and for unplanned events. And believe it or not, in the last 6 months, as bad as the tornadoes and the hurricane or the floods and other sorts of things and the bridge collapse were, the biggest event in FirstNet history was when we had a linear nation where the entire nation came into the center for a 2.5-hour path of the eclipse. Towns that were only 800 swelled to 8,000. Towns that were 8,000 swelled to 80,000. And public safety was scared to death because these days you can't even have a Super Bowl parade without an active shooter situation. So I'm really thrilled that we were able to come together in the center of our country and watch this amazing, event. And it was done safely, and public safety was able to do their job, and everybody got home. And I call it Operation Home for Dinner. And if you're on the night shift, home for breakfast. The key here is that this network can actually save lives. And in Big Bend National Park, where there is no one, we have a tower. As I asked today, where's the most remote tower we have in the state of Texas? And why did we put it there? Lost campers. Not because it makes money, not because anybody's actually using it right now, but it'll be there when you need it. And that's the power of a tower. And quite frankly, and I won't go into it, but Every tower almost has a story on an Indian reservation where they tried to save a child, but there was no connectivity and they couldn't find him in a snowstorm. Or somebody drives into a pond and they didn't have the triangulation between the towers, so they couldn't get the location that they needed, and they didn't have the connectivity that they needed. Every single tower has a story. So the power of the tower is just remarkable. And it's something I talk about everywhere I go, because it really comes down to that. It is that coverage, coverage, and coverage. And we're not there yet. You know how many square miles there are in the United States of America? 3.4 million. We currently cover 2.97 million. We got a ways to go. And we need capacity, not just good coverage, not just 1 bar coverage, which might be some of that. We need 4 bar coverage. We need 5G coverage. And we're working on that. Absolutely, positively, every day, driving for that coverage solution and making sure the network stays up and is resilient against all hazards. I'm hitting the green button. I promise I'm hitting the green button. There it is. All right. So I have a logo on my lapel here. And when we were envisioned back in 2012, 2014, the early days, fire, police, and EMS, those are the big ones, right? That was the big push. But what we know now, and some of our best and most resilient supporters and customers and folks that are thinking about resilience and public safety are in the 911 community. So I designed this. And when complex catastrophic events happen and everybody comes in, somebody is the emergency management lead. Sometimes it's the adjutant general. Sometimes it's somebody appointed by the governor that's a civilian, but emergency management. So the 3 aren't enough anymore, because we understand public safety at another level 10 years in. And we're not going to get this done for the nation without having 911 with us. And we're not going to get it done without emergency management coming on board. Because if they do come on board, and even if DOD shows up or large federal numbers, and they're not aware, and FirstNet is not in their toolbox, you will go to the lowest common denominator for communications. And that's not the best thing for public safety. So I'm not saying you've got to go, I'm not even trying to sell you anything. It's not my job to sell you. It's my job to educate. When executive director and CEO stands for Chief Education Officer, right? I think an educated customer will understand the power of the spectrum and the power of this network and that ripple effect from 9/11. But this is a cartoon. And what I really wanted to end up with is these 5 disciplines, right? We know what they're worried about. We know what they need. And it really just comes down to people. And if I could leave you with one word, it's about partnership. And Walt and Interop and Texas A&M and the friends that we've seen from the past from all over the globe, and the friends that we're seeing each other again from across all of the disciplines, it's about the people. It is Operation Home for Dinner, Operation Home for Breakfast. And I'm excited about what the future can bring. And you guys are thinking about the future here. You're thinking about the most, I could go through all the disciplines, but I want to because I think I'm getting in the way of people that are going to come out here and dance. So I don't want to stay up here too much longer. But let me just give you one example of kind of thinking outside the box. The 2 most dangerous thing, as I understand it, that a law enforcement person does is knock on a door and pull over a car. When are robots going to do that? Friendly, happy-faced robots going up and knocking on the door, to see if everything's okay, come on out, doing a visual to see if there's any hidden weapons or any hidden concerns. Pulling over a car, the window comes down, you're talking to a happy-faced drone, but the police officer is still in the car. Even if the person in the car doesn't injure the police officer, standing on a highway in the middle of the night is not a safe place to be either. So let's figure out ways to use this new network and innovate to keep our folks safe, right? Firefighters running in to a burning building and structural collapse is the number one thing. And now batteries exploding are something of a concern, and on and on and on, right? So how do we innovate and how do we do it? Just listen to Walt. He'll tell us to listen to one another. We'll tell each other. We'll get not the lowest common denominator, the highest common denominator. So those are my slides. That's our story, and FirstNet is our network. And I'm just so honored to have the opportunity to be here. It is the dream give back job. This is the dream give back audience, quite frankly. And it is my first post-dinner keynote, and I was terrified. So you've been great. The heckling hasn't been too bad. And I'm sorry, I know you guys all bristled when you heard I was an Air Force guy, and this is okay. Okay, well, just there you go. Yeah. Oh, you got it. Okay, you guys. I love that. I saw a little bit going on. I'm like, oh, Army guys, Navy guys, I didn't know. So you guys all wear that uniform regardless of what service you're in or going into. Fantastic. Okay, great. Well, thank you for being so nice. Thank you for having me here. Have a great week. And think about, if you're curious about FirstNet, we've got 28 people in 32 states, or is it the other way around? 32 people in 28 states. Ready to answer your questions, ready to partner, ready to listen, learn, and lead as your federal government.gov senior executive and about 200 plus folks spread all over the country. So thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity and have a great rest of your week. Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Now we will hear from students. So, of course, we're at Texas A&M. We had one of our students that works at ITEC on a panel today. Of course, Gracia has been helping organize this whole event. And we have the Aggie Wranglers here to do a performance. So we enjoy dancing here in Texas, especially at Texas A&M. So the Aggie Wranglers are a student group sponsored by the university who perform but also teach country dancing, and they are pretty amazing. And I'm so glad that they are available to show us a performance and see what you can do when you come to Texas A&M.
For 2023, 2024, fight Texas Aggie Wranglers. A few things left to do down here in Aggie. First, skip dance lessons. Each year, we teach over 5,000 students, faculty, staff, and community members how to two-step, waltz, polka, and how to do some of our very own Aggie style jitterbug. Second thing we like to do is give performances, like the one you're about to see here today. From all over the city, state, nation, and the world, spreading our love of Texas A&M through our secret style, country western dance. Performing places such as MSC Open House. We're from all over the world in countries like Germany, Japan, Texas A&M branch of Doha Qatar, Mexico, Honduras, from all over the nation in states like Florida, Louisiana, Oklahoma. But mainly, we like to stay right here in this great Lone Star state of Texas. We're from all over the state in cities like Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio. And yes, sometimes we do get lost in that burnt orange city of Austin. Now, folks, what you're going to see today are two of our high-speed poker routines, as well as some of our very own high-flying, death-defying, internationally famous Aggie-style jitterbug. This is the fun stuff. This is where you see, if you see something you like, see something you want to see again, or see something that has you fearing for one of our lovely lady safeties. Whoop, holler, clap your hands, stomp your feet, slap your neighbor, do whatever you got to do to get excited, because the more energy you give us, the more we're going to give right back to you. With all that being said, what we do here is very dangerous, so please do not try any of this at home without any further assistance from us. Like I said earlier, we do offer dance lessons. You can find that on our website at aggiewranglers.com. You can also find us on various forms of social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, and we are probably on it. With all that being said, we hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks.
You too can be like them if you sign up for lessons. All right. Walt, if you don't mind making your way up here. I know everyone has seen the guys in the white uniforms. So they're they're members of the Ross Volunteers from the Corps of Cadets, Texas A&M. So the Ross Volunteers, the group is the oldest honor guard and drill team in Texas. They serve as the official honor guard of the governor of Texas, and it's composed of juniors and seniors from Texas A&M University. Well.
Tonight, we're also honoring people that have given a significant part of their lives, given up family time, given up a lot to really go ahead and support this industry, support public safety. And they're doing it as a mission of love. Okay. I mean, they do this because they would not, there's nothing else in the world that they would rather do. So we're going to honor some retirees tonight. And there's 5 of them all together. So and this is in no particular order, but if you'd come up one at a time, and let me go ahead and read a little bit about what each of them has done. So Thomas Randall, FirstNet Authority, retiring January of 25. 45 years of service and plans to spend time with the grandkids. And this man has got the most awesome car collection you have ever seen in your life. So it's something anyone could really be truly envious of. So I first met Tom, well, about 2010, I guess it was, when Harris County got the, it was even before FirstNet days, when Harris County got the first grant to do their, public safety broadband rollout network. And so Thomas was working for the Brazos County Sheriff's Office at the time. And Brazos County was really thought to be one of the thought leaders at the time. They ended up putting cameras and public safety broadband radios in the trunks and everything else. And then Thomas, anytime you would see a video anywhere of advanced applications, Tom was pretty much in that video, no matter where it went. He was on a national public speaking tour there for quite a while. So, Tom, we are going to miss you, but I know you are going to be around when asked to go ahead and then continue to keep supporting the community.
Yes, sir.
Small token of our appreciation.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks.
Tom's on it. Thanks. Tom's one of our advisory board members and has been a staunch supporter of FirstNet Authority, public safety, and everything for as long as I've known him. Next would be Mr. Greg Jurens. So Greg is retiring on September 30th. After 47 years of working with, most recently with Harris County, plans on traveling, and I saw the itinerary of their cruise. Man, it's to die for. So they're going to end up having a real good time on that one. Greg plans on spending some time working with the ICT AP, which is a group that supports public safety when there are major incidents and disasters and stuff like that going on. He says basically he wants to spend more of his time teaching and mentoring. Now, how many people are selfless enough to go ahead and spend an entire career of serving others and then go ahead and retire and continue to serve others? So, Greg, thanks, sir. Next person has to pull double duty. So she serves as the statewide interoperability coordinator for the state of Texas. She also is Greg's better half, so she has to keep Greg out of trouble. So Carla Jurens, come on up here. So Carla's retiring August 31st, and I noticed you're taking a whole month off before Greg retires. So kind of get some adjustment time there. She's spent 18 years working with the Department of Public Safety. We work very closely with a large number of her colleagues, friends, and everything else. Needless to say, since Greg is going to be doing a lot of traveling, Carla's going to be doing a lot of traveling, and I'm not really sure who lined up the itinerary on that, but it looks like I gave some serious thought there. She's still going to be doing some consulting work and everything else. So those of you that need a person that really knows how to pull things together and really understands interoperability, again, Carla's done a fantastic job for the state of Texas as our SWIC for the last large number of years. So, Carla. Another person that is leaving the Department of Public Safety, and I think Tommy has kind of said that he's leaving whenever Carl leaves. So that was kind of his exit cue. So Tommy Gonzalez is also retiring on August 31st after 36 years of service with the DPS. Plans on spending more time with the family, and is also going to work with the Catholic Diocese in Corpus Christi. So we have a true man of faith here. Also is going to spend time, I guess, with Greg with the ICTAP, which again is the Interoperable Communications Technical Assistance Program. I believe that is a DHS program. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Appreciate it, man.
Tommy has been a fixture, by the way, with the Interoperability Institute. He was here for number 1, he was here for number 2, number 3, and he's still here with us for number 7. So last but not least, Mrs. Kelly Merriweather. So Kelly actually retired on March 1st after 28 years. So I first met Kelly when she was working with working for the 911 CSEC Commission. And when her former boss decided to retire, she came in and very ably took over his position. So we did a pretty significant project with Kelly in probably about 2015, where Kelly was setting up a test bed, similar to what you're doing there, Budge. But she was setting up a test bed here within the state of Texas to do interoperability testing and things like that. So Kelly led that effort, and she is also one of our board members. And Kelly has been one of our strongest supporters throughout. You know, again, the ITEC has been around now for 20 years this year. And honestly, without people like Kelly and the rest of the people that we're honoring tonight, there is absolutely no way that we would be where we are today. So Kelly is also, by the way, going to be available to work in consulting capacities in NG 911. So you could not find a more able person to work with. In fact, we've already been talking to her about a couple of projects. We plan on bringing her in on some of the stuff that we're working on. So Kelly, thank you very much.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Another one of our A&M traditions is called muster, and muster is basically where the community gets together, light a candle, and says here for A&M former students that have passed over the past year. A tradition that started during World War I, and that's what they call basically answering the call. I feel real confident as we go on in the future and everything else that the retirees that we've got here are not going to become a part of our past. They're going to be a part of our present and future as well. So I feel real confident that all 5 of you will be answering the call. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yep. Don't go anywhere yet, Walt. So Walt mentioned this is the 20th year of the ITEC. So the ITEC started as kind of an idea. He did it part-time while he was still working with IT, kind of half-time, I guess, right? And half-time ITEC. And since then, over the 20 years, it's grown to be what it is now, with amazing projects for all kinds of public safety and defense and transportation and energy projects. And it's all because of your vision, Walt. And we just wanted to honor you with a 20-year commemorative plaque here. So AJ, you want to read what it says on there?
in recognition of Dr. Walt Magnuson, 20 years of visionary leadership, dedication, and innovation as the founder of ITEC, shaping the landscape of public safety communications. Your unwavering commitment as a thought leader has left an indelible mark, ensuring the safety and well-being of communities far and wide. I need a picture.
Like Joe said, it's all about the next generation of leadership and everything else here. And I think we are very well positioned to go forward and keep working with all of you in the future. So thank you very much. This is totally unexpected. This was kept a secret from me. I've been kind of insisting that we don't do anything, but thank you.
All right, now Michael Fox is going to show us some dance moves. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Yes, that is the end of our event tonight. I know we've all had a very long day, and we have an early morning tomorrow. So thank you for coming to yet another A&M facility. This is the third one I've had you guys come to. Hope you enjoyed your time. The Ross volunteers are very interested in learning more about the event tonight. They enjoyed hearing about all the initiatives and what's going on in the sector. So please take a minute to let them bend your ear and bring them into the public communications field. So they're sticking around because they're really interested. So thank you, everyone. Do we have buses? If you need a bus to your hotel, we do have buses waiting. And otherwise, we will see you in the morning. We're back at CIR, not another facility though. So thank you.